Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Wednesday, the 4th of December, 2024. I'm Sean Aylman. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, a big one. The Australian economy grew by just 0.3% in the September quarter, taking annual growth to less than 1%. Its lowest level since the early 1990s, if you exclude the COVID pandemic. That sent local markets lower. Starting with the Aussie dollar, investors sold down the currency to 64.7 US cents. That reflects bets that maybe the Reserve Bank will need to do something about interest rates before the middle of next year. Bond markets also reacted and are pricing in a 2 in 3 chance of a rate cut by April next year. On the share market, the S&P ASX 200 closed down almost 0.5% to 8,463 points. The big miners did best on the back of rising iron ore prices. BHP, Fortescue Metals Group and Rio all finished up around 1%. The real estate investment trusts were worst thanks to a sell-off in Goodman. It ended down 3%. Banks were also laggards, reflecting fears about economic growth and what that means for loan repayments. Westpac, National Australia Bank and ANZ all fell around 1.5%. Best performer on the day was Guzman y Gomez, up 5%, while Star Entertainment was the worst, down 7%. Story number 2, Tabcorp boss Gil McLachlan has successfully cut about 10% of the wagering group's workforce, or 200 jobs, as he attempts to simplify the business. The jobs have gone since the annual general meeting in October, when Mr. McLachlan flagged the cuts. They come from across the business, and there's also a reduction in external consultants. Mr. McLachlan wants the business to be more in line with digital plays, according to the Financial Review. Tabcorp's share price tumbled in August when the CEO said it wouldn't hit cost-cutting targets or reach its goal of 30% share of digital wagering market by next year. It was down 2% today. It's off nearly 25% for the year. Story number 3, Andrew and Nicola Forrest Mindrew Foundation has committed $100 million to a new women's investment fund with the goal of driving gender equality. It's an initiative of the Future Generation, an investment house with more than $1 billion under management. It raises money for charities. In its 10 years, it's given $90 million to charities. The new fund, Future Generation Women, will be an unlisted trust in the Future Generation Group. All investing will be managed by female fund managers, and Future Gen boss Jeff Wilson hopes it will drive strong gender equity practices. The fund will have no management or performance fees for investors. The goal, of course, is to provide strong returns. 1% of assets each year will be given to non-profits that advance economic equality and opportunity for women and their children in Australia. A very worthwhile fund. Story number 4, Medicus' share price jumped 2% today, pushing its value to more than $27 billion after its founders said they don't plan to sell any more shares in the foreseeable future. Medicus is one of those companies with founders running the business. The 2 guys are called Sam Hupert and Anthony Hall. On Tuesday night, last night, they sold 2 million shares worth about $500 million. That spooked the market just a touch. But today, the two, Mr. Hupert and Mr. Hall, were out reassuring investors. The radiology imaging company only entered the top 100 stocks in March this year. It's now a top 25 stock on the back of a 200% jump in its share price this year. One of the things, it's only got 2 substantial shareholders. So a substantial shareholder is someone above 5%. That's Mr. Hupert and Mr. Hall. They own about $12 billion worth of the stock. But because it's now so big, fund managers need to own it. So there's plenty of demand out there. The 2 sold down last night, but they said they're not selling anymore for the time being. And story number 5, maybe it's an end of year thing, but there seems to be a bit of corporate activity around the place at the moment. Rio Tinto and Japanese giant Sumitomo Metal Mining have done a joint venture to develop the Winu copper gold project in Western Australia's Great Sandy Desert. Sumitomo will buy a 30% stake in the project for a bit over $600 million. It certainly pushes Rio further into copper. Pacific Equity Partners has officially agreed to acquire leasing group SG Fleet for around $1.4 billion. Investors piled into management software company Bravura today after it upgraded its earnings guidance for this financial year. Its share price finished up 21%. And shares in Auckland International Airport entered a trading halt today as its major shareholder, the Auckland Council, positions itself for a $1 billion plus sell down out of the group. That's it for the afternoon report for Wednesday, the 4th of December, 2024. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Thursday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.